Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Queensbury Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, October 20. This is our first meeting for the month of October, our 14th meeting thus far for 2020, and believe it or not, this is our 10th meeting under the pandemic guidelines. If you have a cell phone or other electronic device, if you would either turn it off or turn the ringer off, so it will not interrupt our proceedings, I would appreciate that. And I will do mine now before I forget. We will be having, there's at least 2 applications later in the agenda this evening that will have a public hearing. And I'd like to let the public know that may be viewing this meeting on the town YouTube channel, that when public hearings are available, you can call in on the telephone line if you wish. And the number to call is area code 518-761-8225. And I'll repeat that number as it becomes relevant later in our agenda. To representatives and members of the audience, if you come up and wish to address the planning board during the meeting tonight, there are some sanitary wipes beneath the podium, and if you would, when you're done to prepare for the next speaker, if you would wipe down the microphone, we would appreciate that. If you'll notice in the room, there are some illuminated exit signs in the event that we have an emergency. Those are the emergency exits. I wanted to mention as well that originally we had scheduled a meeting of the technology committee before the meeting tonight. That has been postponed 1 month at the request of the supervisor in order to get us some updates, and that meeting will now take place November 17 at 6:15, right before the planning board meeting that night. And a meeting invite was sent out to members of that committee, although it's not a private meeting, so if you would be interested in attending that, you're welcome to come. And Laura, the original meeting that was going to be held tonight, you mentioned that, I think, is it Kevin Malinowski that's now the rep from StoreTech that's supposed to be working with us? Correct. Yeah. And he was either going to attend or possibly be available by phone. Yes. Would it be possible, or if you haven't already, if you would let him know that that meeting is next month on the 17th? Yep. I know one of the topics that we were interested in discussing has to do with the security related to the iPads and our email. I think you were aware I'm a volunteer on the Low Impact Development Committee that Chris Novinsky chairs, and I had difficulty being able to participate because when I connected to the link to that committee meeting on my town email, I was told that the IT forbids that connection. Of course, I couldn't have used the iPad in its early stages now because there's no way I can download the application and make it work anyway. But we're going to be addressing that, I guess, as we move forward. But the whole issue of the security, I mean, we're spending a lot of money on these things. It seems like security is kind of an issue and maybe behind some of the reasons why the devices are so locked down. For example, I was able to forward that email from Chris to my employer's email, which has very strong security, and that allowed me to join that meeting with no difficulty. So I'd like to be able to chat with him about that, just to get more information so we have a better understanding of the whole issue.
So Steve, really that information comes to myself or Craig, and then we work with StoreTech to resolve those items. So that's how that function should work.
Good, okay. And then if he would be available either in person or maybe by phone or whatever, you can let me know before the meeting so that we can ask to get a little bit more background information about issues surrounding security. And
again, that's information that comes to me. I report that back to you.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So on to our regular agenda. The first item is we have some minutes approval from August 18th and August 25th, and I believe we have a draft agenda, or a draft motion rather, for that.
Motion to approve Town of Queensbury Planning Board minutes of August 18th and August 25th, 2020.
So moved.
Okay, does anyone have any corrections or comments on that motion? Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes. We have an administrative item, site plan PZ 230-2016 for Legacy Land Holdings, a request for an additional one-year extension. And I see, if my notes are correct, Laura, this would be the fourth year in a row they're asking for an extension?
That is correct. And I understand someone from the Legacy Land Holding was going to be present, and I don't see anybody present at this time, so I apologize for that inconvenience. You want to,
I did see there was a letter with some explanation.
there is.
Bob's in
Mr. Sears, do you want to speak on the behalf of them?
If you don't mind, if you would get up on the mic so we make sure you have your comments in the minutes.
My name is Bob Sears. I'm the realtor involved with that project. And the only thing I'd like you to do is refer to the letter that was sent by Tom Jared regarding that project. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, one of the concerns that I had in that letter, it includes some information that it doesn't seem terribly optimistic that we may be in any different position should we grant another extension. It talks about there's little demand for the space available in the project, and some other comments that seem beyond. I mean, there was certainly some concern about clarifying and adjusting some issues, but it talks about lack of demand for professional office space. The design was changed to the multifamily residential, and then this was found to be financially challenging. I mean, is there a sense that this is something's going to happen with this in a year?
We hope so. Now, that being said, there is a challenge for office space, obviously, because of the COVID, because of you can do a lot now online, so you don't have to be in meetings personally.
Right.
So we're going through that issue right now. This project was done according to the zoning that is there now, and hopefully we'll have some people who might be interested in putting up an office building. You don't know when that might happen, but hopefully it will happen this coming year. That has been existing, that project has been existing, and to change it, it's zoned for offices, and that's what it's there for.
Mm-hmm.
So we are contemplating going back to the town to modify that, okay? But at this stage of the game, at this time, this is what it is.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments before we consider the motion?
Bob, on the number one issue here is need to resolve wastewater issue. I don't think you want to address that. That's probably for Tom to address.
That's already been addressed.
Correct. Mr. Deeb, that has been addressed, and it's been resolved specifically in reference to information being shared with our town council and their council.
Okay,
What was
good.
the question? I can't you got that darn mask on, and I can't.
I can yell if you want.
What did you ask? I'm sorry.
About number one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but Bob's
The infrastructure.
realtor, Tom Jarrett's the engineer.
Yeah, that has been approved by both the town and also the engineers on both sides.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had questions as I was going through this, and my questions just for notes to myself while on the top is similar to what you were asking. What's going to change? What will work here? And what's the benefit of another extension? As you had said, nothing for this letter, nothing sounded optimistic about saying, okay, come back next year, we'll come back and we'll have another extension, because we still don't know what to do.
That's certainly a possibility. Yeah.
Here's the situation. There are about 16 lots out there. About 4 or 5 of them are dedicated to the 27-unit senior housing, and the rest of them, the balance is for offices. That is shovel-ready office sites. There are very few shovel-ready office sites in the town of Queensbury. That is the existing sewers in place, All the infrastructure is in place. All you gotta do is put a shovel in the ground and get a site plan approved. So that's unique in that respect. And all I can say there is that perhaps, hopefully, soon, an office user will come along and want to build there. But I'm experiencing in my everyday endeavors as a real estate agent here in the area, there is not a huge demand for offices, but there is not a whole lot of parcels that are shovel-ready to go. So this is an opportunity. If you do want to put offices in Queensbury, you will probably look at this site as a possibility. So that's important that we retain that. It's important for the town, it's important for the developer. As far as the 27 units go, it is for senior housing, and there is a need for senior housing here in this area. And hopefully we'll find someone that will build the 27 units out. And as I mentioned before, we are in discussions with the town of Queensbury now, the board, Queensbury Town Board, to modify this zoning to a degree. But we would like to retain this for another year at this point, because this is something that's here, it's ready to go, and hopefully something will happen.
Well, I agree, Bobby. We're living in times with extenuating circumstances. And I think we got to give a chance to see what's going to happen. Things could change in a year. It's been a tough year for everybody.
Absolutely.
It has.
And I think, we've got to see what shakes out, at least give it a try.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Chairman, I was concerned about the second last paragraph. It talks about, in conclusion, an additional time extension is requested until such time as market conditions for professional offices and/or senior housing improve. Is there anything within this climate and with people working at home, et cetera, that would suggest that within the next year there's going to be any change?
All I can say is this is what's before us.
Say again.
This is what's before us right now. We're asking for extension for another year. You can, at the end of this coming year, get something else or have some other discussions. But right now, we are involved in discussions, some of these issues with the town board.
Was there a site plan brought before the board a year ago?
I don't know. I was
No, not a year ago. I think this originally came up in 2016.
Why
Wow.
are we extending for 1 year then? What is it we're extending for 1 year?
The site plan that was approved back in 2016. Then it was, a request was received a year after approval for a 1-year extension, which was granted. Then another extension, then another extension, then another extension, and this is another 1 year. This is the fourth 1-year extension that they're requesting.
So there was a site plan approved
Yes.
4 years ago.
Yes, 5 years ago.
What is the value of extending it for another year as opposed to?
Well, that's why I was asking questions, and I wanted to make the board available to ask the representative that question, because it has been,
If this is not approved, they just come back with a different site plan.
well, not true.
No.
We have a survey map. It's unfortunate, maybe I should have brought everything with me, but I thought that we were beyond that point. But anyway, we have about 16 lots out there that have been pre-approved for offices, okay? And that it's been engineered, and that's all set to go, shovel ready. And that's the way it's been. We have had 2 users out there. 2 of them, one is David Parsons, and the other one is Earl Dentistry. And that they were sold a number of years ago. But the lots are good, they're ready to go. And in Queensbury right now, there are not a whole lot of lots available that are shovel ready, been pre-approved for offices.
But you wouldn't lose that momentum you've already got, right? If you had to come back, I mean, if conditions change, so you
well,
have
if,
different senior housing.
Yes.
to answer your question, if we didn't grant an extension, and Laura, please correct me if when I'm wrong, but their approval would go away.
Correct.
So they would not have an approval for a site plan for that site any longer. They would still have a plan, but it would be expired. So they would have to Correct, Laura? They'd have to come in with another plan. It could be identical to what they have submitted now,
Correct.
but rather than having extended for a year, it would lapse, and then they would have to reapply, even if the plans were identical to what they originally proposed, and we would reconsider it at that time.
That's putting an extra financial burden on the applicant. And again, where you have such extenuating circumstances, I'd like to give it a shot one more time. And if it doesn't work out next year, they come back. We don't have to grant an extension. We can say, okay, we have to start from scratch.
Let me ask you a question, follow up on John. You had said, that, excuse me, there are 16 commercial lots there.
No, they're not, well, they are commercial, but they're zoned for and been approved for offices.
Okay. Out of the 16, how many have sold
2.
since 2016?
No, they were sold prior to that.
We didn't
No,
have-
wait, I'm
We
sorry.
didn't have COVID 4 years ago.
Right.
Why haven't they sold?
Well, the main reason why they haven't sold is because there's not been a real demand for offices, okay? Because people are consolidating. Also, there is, the cost of construction is a little bit more than it used to be. The bottom line is, that's what's been approved, and that's what the zoning code calls for, okay? If you decide not to go ahead and approve it for another year, you're basically going against the code. The code is what it is. And with the way it's set up right now, you have that zoning out there is for office use.
We wouldn't be changing the zoning on that.
No,
That would be a
no,
town board.
but
That would be a
this,
town board.
this is a step forward from the zoning because it's pre-approved office lots. So in other words, you would have to go back and start all over again. Meanwhile,
You'd have to submit a new application, yes.
right, and so
But if you
if
were submitting
someone's,
the same plan, you wouldn't have to start all over again. Your existing plans could be resubmitted with a new application.
so why go through that process if it's already in place?
Because in a case, for some reason, I'm not saying this is the case with you, I would assume why that's there is if somebody just sits back lackadaisically and doesn't pursue what that approval is for whatever reason, then they just, keep coming back.
You're making an assumption that,
No, I'm not making an assumption about you. I stated that right at the very
Right.
beginning as I started talking.
I'm not saying,
What I'm saying is that there are another extension come back next year for what would be the 5th extension. I think last month we had the 6th or 7th extension on a project. So I'm, to be truthful, looking for answers. I'm not getting concrete answers from you. I'm getting, well, that's the way it is.
all right,
It's a marketing issue, it seems.
I understand that.
And an economic issue,
Maybe it's the
economic
wrong piece
development.
of property in the wrong location for the wrong use.
Excuse me, can I chime in on that? I'm very familiar with this project. I don't want to say very familiar but I know the project. I know it's been going on. I've been watching it. I know that they had 2 offices in there. I know that they had a problem. It's the right market. It's nice marketable land for the offices and where it's going. I think Bay Street is growing now that we have Fowler Square coming in. We have, good things happening here at the SUNY Adirondack. We've had some changes down there at the end, down near Struett's and that. I think it's coming up this way. It might have been a little bit premature. I think at the time that it went in, the market was strong, and then all of a sudden it crashed. I know that they've got a lot of money tied up in getting this to the point, and what I was in a long economic growth meeting today. We have a new leader. Unfortunately, since Ed Bartholomew passed away with the EDSA, and Jim Sherplin he's got some great energy and great ideas. I think we got some movement coming in our direction, and I'd like to extend this because this is a shovel-ready opportunity for offices you know, in the town of Queensbury and in this sector right here, which, you know, I think has a little growth. There's very limited of what we can do in Queensbury right now, and this is a good spot. We have, you know, the doctor's net across the street. You know, Hudson Headwaters is going gangbusters over in Cary Park, and soon that's going to be, and they're going to have to, they're just expanding and leaps and bounds. There's other hospitals are joining together. There's a lot of workings coming, I think, down the road. Right now, it's been a tough market. There's a lot invested here, and I think it would be a shame to pull the plug, because it's not like there's a reason why. It's just, it's really, it's a great piece of property ready to go, and it's going to flow. It just,
Brad, I don't think our questions have anything to do with killing the project. The only question is whether or not within that 1 year, there's going to be any additional office space demand in this area. I would raise a question about whether, do we know how much office space vacancy there is now in this area? My guess is there's quite a bit. And the prognosis of all of the economists that I...
Okay, let me point out one thing.
Yeah.
There's very little Class A office space in Queensbury.
Class
Period.
A.
Okay? Period. Anybody that goes in there who wants to put in, I've talked to a couple of developers. They feel that the time is ripe, perhaps, to put in some Class A office space. Most of the office space in Queensbury is Class B. And people who are into looking at office space, there's a good demand for Class A office space. These will be new buildings, Class A buildings, if a developer wants to go ahead and do that. Queensbury does not have that much of an opportunity for Class A space unless it's new builds. These are shovel-ready sites, ready to be built on. All you need to do is go before your board with a plan showing what building you want to put on the site.
Okay, thank you. Well, we have a draft resolution. Why don't we move on that and see what happens.
Thank you for your time.
John, before we move on, I just want to say, we don't have a crystal ball, so we really don't know what's going to happen this year. But I mean, things could turn around, they might not turn around.
David, we read about the economists and what their predictions are for office space, given the fact that so many million
And I
Americans...
understand that, but Brad's point is, it has
So
to be
many
taken.
million Americans are working from home and may never in fact go back to their office space.
Well, I think we should at least, if
what does it hurt granting the extension? What's it doing?
If it doesn't work, then
Excuse me, man, we're trying to talk up here.
Poor Laura, she's
I would
trying to...
ask the opposite question, which is, what is the gain?
And I'll go on record again that we've spent
They're gonna come
now
back with it.
another,
Yeah.
25 minutes discussing the same subject that we discussed last time. There needs to be a limit on how many
Yeah.
extensions we provide.
Yeah,
Because this is valuable time. We have people waiting and we're talking about the same subject again.
Yeah, well, I think it was worthy of discussion, but I agree. Let's go with the draft resolution, and we'll see where it goes.
motion to approve a one-year extension for site plan PZ 230, 2016, Legacy Land Holdings.
So moved. McGowan.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Karen, can we have the vote, please, unless there's further discussion on the motion itself? No, all right, go ahead, Karen, if you would.
Mr. Valentine?
Come back to him.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsicker?
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer?
No.
Ms. White?
No.
Mr. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
I say no, it doesn't matter. At least I said what I was gonna say.
Mr. Traver?
No. So, what's the tally?
4 to 3. 4 to 3.
4 noes and 3 yeses.
Okay, so the extension is not granted, is that correct, Laura?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we move on to the regular agenda. The first section is Planning Board recommendations. There are no public hearings, just so folks are aware, there are no public hearings for planning board recommendations. The first item on the agenda under planning board recommendations is Bill Pagonowski, application site plan 42-2020. Laura?
So this applicant proposes construction of a 672 square foot detached garage. This has a floor area of 1,114 square feet and associated site work for the project. The existing home has a footprint of 1,954 square feet, floor area of 3,195. The new garage is proposed to be at 23 feet 3 inches. Relief is requested for the floor area and the height.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. For your records, my name is Ethan Hall. I'm principal with Rosinski Hall Architecture. With me tonight is Bill Pogonowski. He's the owner of the property. Laura, are we looking at lot coverage because we're increasing lot coverage? Is that not a variance request as well? Current lot coverage is 61.55% non-permeable or a permeable area, and 75 is required. We're actually increasing that, but it's still a variance required for that? I'm just clarifying that.
Not if you're improving it.
What's that?
You're improving the
We're making it better, but it still doesn't meet the requirement.
I mean, the board, let's put it this way.
Okay.
The board can include that in the resolution.
Okay.
So it's clarified, but typically we try to stay to the variances that are identified.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. So what Bill would like to do, and the drawing is up on the screen behind you there, he would like to have a two-car garage. The existing house is it's a higher peaked house. It does sit down closer to the lake off from Russell Harris Road. There is no garage associated with the house currently, and he would like to add a garage to the house, so to the property. There's nothing behind it. The property behind it is in a trust for the Betty family. I don't know if it's a big open piece of land. I don't know if there's any intention to ever develop that or not, but it's quite a ways away from the lake.
Okay, can you discuss the height? I mean, it's what, 7 feet 3 inches above the maximum
Above the
height allowed?
16 feet. In order to have, well, the basement of the house itself, part of it's finished and the other part of it has no basement under it. It's just a crawl space. So there's really not a lot of storage in the house itself. To have things like deck furniture and things that get picked up from the lake in the fall and in the winter, there's really no place to put it. So the area above the garage is where we're looking to add the storage that doesn't currently exist in the house.
Okay. Questions, comments from members of the board?
I just have the same question on height, I guess. Yeah. Ethan, we have an item number 6 on the agenda tonight that has a very comparable building that does not exceed the height. Why does this have to be so high? I mean, the pitch of the roof could be changed, et cetera, et cetera.
We could knock it down. On the drawing A1 that you see, there's a line that's drawn across there that shows the line of 5-foot headroom. So there's really, in the middle of the building, it's about shoulder height up to the peak, and then the stuff that's out in the wings of it is really rather low headroom. Anything less than, say, a 9/12 pitch, we won't really be able to get a door in there very well either. It's a 9-foot wall on the first floor. Bill's got a rather large truck that he needs to get inside the lower floor, so we need the headroom on the lower floor in order to get his vehicle in. And then the overhead space is, again, just for storage.
The lot behind is vacant, you say?
The lot behind it is vacant, yes.
Eventually, something could be put there.
I don't know. I know there's some wetlands in that area. I don't know what the developability is of that lot, though, David.
If the height's that tall, it could impinge on the property behind it.
Possibly. I mean, it really, Russell Harris Road kind of goes up and around from where it is right there. I don't know that there would be a whole lot to it, but.
Ethan? You ready for my brainstorming idea?
Lay it on me, Brad.
That's quite an extensive roof system, and I know we really try to stay within our height limits.
Yep.
The way you're bringing up the steps and this and that, and I'm just tossing it out there as an idea. You have, you got 9 foot and an 8 ceiling height in the garage.
Yes.
I understand you need that for the headers and that, but you're coming through a gable end.
Yep.
What about lowering the side of that door down and walk into a landing and like have 3 steps up once you get inside the door, have the door open out? You know?
Inside the building you're talking.
Right, and then step it up inside the building and, you know, and then it will be up there above the ceiling height. Then you'll be able to get your door in and 3 foot up and then lower your height down the 3 feet.
Yeah, it's still going to be above the 16-foot height.
Yeah,
Oh, it's just 16?
it's over 7
What?
feet above the maximum now.
Yeah.
Or 7 feet.
The allowable for a detached garage is only 16 feet.
Oh, okay, all right.
And
Sorry, my
to
bad.
try and get it
Right.
down to 16 feet would be not much above. There wouldn't
Well,
be
it'd
much.
be 16 feet.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
right, yeah, ultimately. So, I mean, the usable height in that, we've done them before, but the usable height in that attic space, you can't stand up inside it. I mean, we could drop the door down, but even when you get up into that attic space with a 9 foot plus the thickness of the floor, and I've done some creative things with the beam work to try and keep the floor thickness down to 2x8s, which normally I can't, you know, you normally can't get an attic floor for storage framed out of 2x8s. Normally
Right.
you're looking at 2x10s, 2x12s, but I'm trying to keep as much of the floor height down as I
7
can.
feet high, huh?
Yeah. Other comments from members of the board? I think that the variance kind of speaks for itself, really, in this case, so I'm not really sure that, I mean, we've had a conversation with the applicant. I mean, he certainly knows the situation, so I'm not sure that any specific recommendation is required unless we really strongly object. So,
It's pretty tall order. so
Yeah.
no pun intended.
I think we're ready for a draft resolution.
I mean, we could put it up, we have the following area of concern, which could be that the height variance is a little more.
You could make a note on there in our referral that we discussed our height concern with the applicant. Certainly they'll have a conversation with them, I'm sure.
7 feet, right?
It's 7 feet 3 inches above the maximum allowed.
Above maximum allowed.
7 foot higher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
23
16
feet.
Yeah, it's,
23 feet 3 inches.
you're not going to get 2 stories.
16 feet is the maximum allowed. So I think it kind of speaks for itself. You know, the applicant has made the case about the large truck and storage space. So it really becomes, I think, more a ZBA issue.
And the other thing in his favor here is that he's as far away from the lake as he could get on the site.
Yes.
And, you know, the height limitation is to block views to the lake.
Right.
And so they're doing as much as they can to mitigate that, you know, by the placement of the garage in the back corner, so.
Yep. Okay.
That's why you always
Good
have to
point,
look at
Chris.
every project, you know, individually, because
Yeah.
Setting precedent.
And another way too, I mean, you gotta walk out lawn furniture all the way up from the lake, all the way from that garage. That's quite a hike.
He's got a young son. That's not the problem.
Well, he's got a truck that needs a 9-foot ceiling to get in the garage. All right, so we ready for that resolution?
Motion to make a recommendation on behalf of the planning board to the zoning board of appeals for area variance number 31-2020, Bill Pogonowski. The planning board, based on limited review, has identified the following areas of concern. Variance for height request is large.
Okay.
We will put it that way and leave it at that.
Understood.
Mr. Deeb, can you repeat that?
I'm not sure I can, Laura, but I'll give it a shot.
I'm just trying to give our resolution clarity, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Use
the
the,
planning, all right. You want me to read the whole motion?
yes.
Motion to make a recommendation on behalf of the planning board to the zoning board of appeals for area variance number 31-2020, Bill Pogonowski. The planning board, based on limited review, has identified the following areas of concern. Height variance.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. White? Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Deeb?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Hunziker?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
You're off to the ZBA. Next on our agenda, also under planning board recommendations, we have Trevor Flynn, site plan 44
Ethan.
dash,
Clean. Oh, did you?
site plan 44-2020. Good evening.
So this proposed application is for 2 porch additions. This includes an 81.4 square foot covered entry porch, a 224 square foot screen porch, relocation of a driveway, and 2 dormer additions. The variance relief sought is for setbacks, and as we note, this is rural residential 5-acre zoning for this area.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Hi, good evening. My name is
evening.
Trevor Flynn, representing Mr. and Mrs. Denoyer. So I was brought into the project as they currently have a house on the lake, and it's a couple stories, and they're looking for a 1-story retirement home. This property went for sale, and as you can tell, it's a front yard setback on all sides. And after looking at it and understanding, 1 story, what does that mean, and how do you live on it? Addressing some of the issues of some exterior space with a screen porch, proper front entry. They plan to use the existing detached garage that is there as well for the garage itself, and then adding a dormer on the other side. As mentioned, it's an existing non-conforming lot. There is an existing septic tank and septic system that's sized for a existing 2-bedroom house, and it's proposed 2 bedrooms. And also, there's a well in the house that meets all the requirements from the septic system itself. Since the client has purchased the property, you can see almost all the plantings on the site, besides some of the large oaks and hickories, have been planted since then. They've planted over 90 trees since the inception of the sale of the property, and they intend to plant more. We're currently working with a consultant for a planting plan and the locations of the rain gardens. We had them sized, but we wanted to get the exact locations to share with the board. We do not have that at this time. I also wanted to mention that all of the additions are not worsening the existing non-conforming conditions. The proposed front dormer, the current setback from that is 75 feet to the house. The dormer is 88.5 feet away. Off of 9L, the detached garage is actually 46 feet away from the property line, and the proposed screen porch is 58.5 feet away, and as well as the entry porch is 72.5 feet away. So we're not worsening or encroaching on any existing non-conforming or worsening it. The overall goal is to bring in, more rain gardens and, address some of the issues that currently exist on site. If you notice, the driveway itself, can we go to the next slide, Laura? The property actually slopes down towards Lockhart from the house and the existing garage, and it actually introduces all the runoff down that driveway. This was actually a concern that was brought up by the client themselves, and they're looking to relocate the driveway due to that condition. Since we're relocating it, we're actually disturbing more than 1,000 square feet square footage on the site, therefore, triggering coming to the planning board as well. If we were just to do the additions and leave the driveway in place, we'd only be disturbing roughly 500 square feet. So again, the client's trying to do the right thing for the environment and their due diligence and protecting the lake itself. And then I don't know if we need to jump into the architecture itself. We're not increasing the height of the building by any manner. The front dormer that faces Lockhart, could we go to the next slide? So you'll see on the bottom right image, that's the dormer that is added facing Lockhart Loop. And we're not increasing the ridge height, we're staying within that zoning envelope. And then on the rear, the image above that is the screened porch, again, not increasing the height. And then bottom left-hand corner is the front entry. And then next slide, please. This is the view from 9L. Basically, you can't see this from the road right now because of the trees that the client has planted. And then one more slide, please. And then this is the view from the existing driveway from 9L. So they plan on introducing earth tones, some natural stone veneer around the base, and then also a brown to green shingled roof. I believe that's it.
Okay. Just draw the board's attention to the staff notes that we're missing information on planning and stormwater. I don't know how that may affect the board's decision on a referral, which is for the ZBA for setbacks, but I just wanted to draw your attention to that. And questions, comments from members of the board?
No, the only question related to that is if you go to the ZBA, is this stuff, do you have additional information you plan on having if the ZBA rules favorably on the appeal? Is this other information going to be ready to follow?
Yeah, if you come back for site plan, you're going to need a complete application, which would mean those extra materials
Yeah,
that have to be submitted to Laura.
That's our intent. It's to the next meeting next week. We will come with that stormwater and planting plan.
I just want to make sure to piggyback on your comment.
Yeah.
Although, like you said to begin with, they don't really play into our variance.
In this case, no, it doesn't. Other questions, comments?
Well, one of the things I have to say is those trees alone that were put in, I mean, for years, it was the big brown house on the bend. And let me tell you, when they put up those trees, it catches your eyes. And I just want to go on note, when I ask for big trees on a site plan, those are the trees I'm talking about. I mean, my gosh, that really, and the way they planted them, really was, really deserves a pause, because I think they've done a nice job. Overall, I think whatever the Denoyers are going to do to this property is really improvement. I know the driveway. I think by changing it, I think you're absolutely right. I actually, looking at the pictures and the map, I like actually the new access. It's really going to dress up that, and I'm sure you'll do come back with the stormwater, you know, if you make it to the variance. But those trees alone, though, I just, there are some beautiful trees that went in there. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd appreciate to hear that. Thank you.
And I just want to know the appreciation for the appropriate size of this house for what you're dealing with. It's very, very nicely done.
All right, thank you. I think the goal is to overall naturalize the site back to a wooded natural space.
I think we have a draft resolution.
Motion to make a recommendation on behalf of the planning board to the zoning board of appeals for area variance number 34-2020, Trevor Flynn. The planning board, based on limited review, has not identified any significant adverse impacts that cannot be mitigated with the current project proposal.
We have a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Hunziker?
Yes.
Mr. Deep?
Yes?
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes. You're off to the ZBA.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. The next item on our agenda, also under Planning Board recommendations to the ZBA, is Mark Prendeville, Site Plan 48-2020. Laura?
Right. The applicant proposes a two-story addition with a basement to an existing home with associated site work. The floor area of the new addition is 3,844 square feet with a footprint of 1,518 square feet. Variance relief is sought for setbacks and height.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Board. I'm Tom Hutchins, Hutchins Engineering, Queensbury, here with owner applicant Mark Prendeville. This is at this house on Ash Drive, I'm told is the oldest remaining house on Glen Lake. I'm not a Glen Lake historian, but I can certainly comfortably say it's certainly one of the oldest houses on Glen Lake.
Interesting.
They propose to do a year-round addition. Presently, it's a seasonal house. They do not propose to winterize the existing structure, but they're going to maintain it, upgrade it, and have it for summer use. The addition will be constructed for year-round use. We're asking for a side setback variance on the south side property line. If you look at the property lines, it kind of hourglasses a little bit. They're converging, particularly on that south side. The existing building is 7.8 feet off that property line, and we're asking for 10.7 for the addition, which will be behind the existing house from a viewpoint of the lake. So it doesn't meet the 20-foot side setback, but it's in excess of what's there, and we really kind of need it to make this floor plan work. Additionally, we're asking for a minimal height relief. Again, the ridge of the addition will be lower than the ridge of the existing house. So the ridge of the new addition will tie in perpendicular to the ridge of the existing house at a lower elevation. You won't see it from the lake at all. And it will be lower than what's there. But the way the architecture worked out with this building, we're really trying to keep that ridge elevation where it's at. So it's 9/10 of a foot above 28 feet, and we're asking for a relief there as well. Other aspects, complete replacement of the septic system, and additional stormwater controls for the site. Much of the site will be not disturbed. And with that, I turn it over to the board.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from members of the board?
One of the questions I had is on your site plan, you have existing sheds to be relocated, but I didn't notice on the site plan where they were going.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, it's going up. I can show that. It's
Okay.
going up in the further away from the lake. One of them's being removed. It says sheds. It
Right.
should say existing shed.
Right, I saw the notation, one to be removed and then the other one to be relocated, and I didn't see where it was going to go.
Yeah. Good point. I don't have that on here.
So I just want to clarify for my own, because I had made a comment here that, question on the height of the addition, because the original site development data had it as 2610. So that's why you submitted the revised site development data, because it's really 28.9 feet height.
There was, right.
Okay.
The original data was based on the architecture drawings, and it's a function of existing grade when you
Right.
walk around the entire footprint of the house, the existing grade at that low point with the ridge elevation. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I mean, usually I'm one of the first to say, that I don't like the height variances, but in this case, since it's lower than the existing, I really don't have any issue with it.
Tom, I assume perk tests and test bits will be with the site plan? Yes. Not tonight?
Yeah, I don't have them on there. But I'll have that information for site plan.
I noticed there's unfinished storage, there's unfinished bonus. Will you accommodate in the design of the septic system, the development of either of those two rooms or not?
I haven't at this point. I could. It's the applicant's plan that these are not bedrooms and they're not intended to be bedrooms and so I haven't done that at this point. I could, there's space. Maybe I'll look at that between now and next week, if we get back.
So the shed that's being removed, is that the old outhouse shed? Oh, did that finally fall down? No. Oh, good, good. That's a relic. It goes with the age of that house, I believe. That is a gorgeous old house.
Concerns, comments regarding the setbacks and height for our referral to the ZBA? Anything that we want to add specifically that would not be covered in our site plan? All right, we have a draft motion.
Motion to make a recommendation on behalf of the planning board to the zoning board of appeals for area variance number 37-2020, Mark Trendenville. The planning board, based on limited review, has not identified any significant adverse impacts that cannot be mitigated with the current project proposal.
I'll second it.
We have a referral motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Deep?
Yes.
Mr. Schreiber?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're off to the ZBA. Next, we move to the next section of our agenda, which is unapproved development. This is also a recommendation to the ZBA, and the applicant is Jeffrey Godnick, site plan 49-2020. Laura?
So this applicant proposes to maintain a 188 square foot, 10-foot high shed to replace a shed that had been removed. The variance relief is sought for this is setbacks, permeability, and floor area.
Okay, thank you. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, John Lapper. Jeff built this house. I'm sure that you all went to see the site. Jeff built the house in '96. He should have realized that to replace the shed, he needed approval, but he didn't. I'm sure you can see that the house and the site are beautifully maintained. He needs a place for his kayaks and his lawn maintenance equipment, and that's what this is. It's closer to the property line than it should be, but it's very wooded and very nicely done, and the dark green color makes it blend in. If he were to move it so that it was in a conforming location, it would block the only access to get boats down to the lake, because it'd be in the middle of that slope. So it's just a practical issue, but I hope you don't see this as a big deal.
Okay, so we're discussing the variance, which is setbacks, permeability, and floor area ratio. Questions, comments from members of the board?
I just don't ever recall talking about permeability and floor area ratios with respect to a shed.
Yeah, is that a pre-existing, the floor
Is
area?
it because of the size of the shed?
Right, so so when the house was originally built, I put a note in there trying to catch everyone's eye on it, is that the basement, because it was unfinished, wasn't accounted for the floor area at that time. And so, but however, when we look at today's regulations, I have to account for it.
Okay.
So that's that's why it's sitting in there like that.
Because the code changed in
The
the.
code change, okay. Yeah, I did catch that, Laura. I guess it didn't sink in that that's why we were looking at floor area. Okay.
I was trying.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? You indicated that it's not practical to get any more setback with that shed because of the nature of the layout.
Yeah.
All right, we have a referral. I'm not hearing any additional questions or comments, so we have a referral resolution.
I know we do. I just gotta find it. I have it. You got one, Chris?
I'm looking.
Yes. Here's one.
Okay, motion to make a recommendation on behalf of the planning board to the zoning board of appeals for area variance number 39-2020, Jeffrey Godnick. The planning board, based on limited review, has not identified any significant adverse impacts that cannot be mitigated with the current project proposal.
I'll second it.
We have a referral motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Mr. Blake? Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Deep?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes. You're off to the ZBA.
Thanks, everybody.
You have to touch them all, John?
It's not easy to open up a new one.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Next, we move to the next area of our agenda, which is new business. And the first item is a sketch plan, JP Gross Properties LLC, sketch plan 13-2020. Laura?
Okay, so this applicant proposes a 6-lot residential. The project is described with 4 lots to have access to Luzerne Road, Lot 1 to be accessed from Twin Mountain Drive, and as a corner lot. Then Lot 6 will have access from Tut Hill Road and is located in 3 zones. Lot 1 and through 5 are to be 2 acres or larger. Lot 6 is to be 37.442 acres, and land from across the Luzerne Road is connected to that.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Owen Spolster with Environmental Design Partnership. If you recall, we were in last year, fall of 2019, with a sketch plan for a 12-lot conservation subdivision on the same property with a small road that came in. Where the smaller lots are at the low end of the property. Going through the process, it was determined that there were variants that would be required to allow those 12 lots. So it wasn't feasible economically anymore to build the road and for only 10 lots that would be allowed. So we're here before you with we went back, sharpened our pencils, and we're here before you with a 6-lot conventional single-family subdivision. As Laura read, 4 of the lots will access Luzerne Road with common driveways, so there will only be 2 common driveways accessing Luzerne Road. Lot 1 will access Twin Mountain Drive, and Lot 6, the large estate lot, will access Tut Hill Road. The lower 4 lots will be, Lot 1 through 4 will be, they'll be on town water, and Lot 5 and 6 will be on wells. They're just too high to get pressure from the water power here. So we're here to talk about this, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. So open it up for discussion on the sketch plan to members of the board.
So you're saying water doesn't roll uphill?
No,
Not so far, anyway.
Have you done any exploration about wastewater systems on the site?
yes, we have. I think it was early January of 2020, we did some test holes there with, the Department of Health was on site too. And a very sandy soil, very good for septic system, so we don't see an issue with that.
Well, you really did work on this because it was September 25th, the old plan there.
Yeah, it's quite a change.
And you really you used some lead pencil on this puppy, didn't you?
Yeah.
Any of the driveways above 10% grade? That long one, for example?
The only one that might get close to 10% would be the one on the large lot, but there's more room there to maneuver or to follow grade. The lower lots, if you look, the driveways are kind of going more or less parallel with the contour lines, so they should be fairly flat.
You're saying the upper one is gonna...
Yeah, I mean, that's a steeper lot, definitely.
I believe, Chris, didn't we talk about walking trails and that, and maybe even a toboggan?
Well, that was when we were talking about some common space or
Yeah.
Yeah, for the steep
public
slope.
space or something. And
But,
he's not
well-
talking about that now, so.
Owen, can you
Yes.
touch base about your discussions with the water department and how what's going to happen next?
Yes, so we've also talked to the water department about, these lots are not, the 4 lots that are going to be served by the water are not currently in the Queensbury Consolidated Water District. So we're working on extending that district. I've submitted draft map plan report to Chris Harrington, and the attorney has reviewed them, and there's a couple minor changes, but we're pretty well down that line too. So, yeah, the 4 lots, lower 4 lots will be served by, and within the new Queensbury, or the extension of the water main, along with, he had us include a lot across the street that was not in the water main in this extension, so we're giving that, doing that all in the same process. So I expect that to be on the town board agenda fairly soon.
Okay.
So the 2 driveways that front Luzerne Road, how far apart are they?
Let me just open up the scalable map here. Now, they're at least 200 feet apart. Let me, they are 300 feet apart.
Oh, okay.
Any
Well, they're
other?
gonna be, oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No, I was just going to ask if there was any other feedback to the applicant.
So it's kind of like, they're gonna be like a shared wide driveway coming off
Yes.
and then going off, all right?
Divert fairly quickly from each other, but definitely one entrance point, one entrance point onto Luzerne Road.
Now, what happens if one of the neighbors doesn't want to carry their snow to the other side and they pile it right on the line?
Well, I have a shared driveway, and so far that hasn't happened.
No, I think that's a very unique idea to knock down the entrances onto the road.
Yeah.
And I really, I like that idea a lot. I mean, like I said, I am just amazed I mean, I looked at this earlier, but I didn't, I found this other paperwork
Yeah.
during the week, and I said, oh, geez, I still have the other sketch plan, so it's just amazing to look and see. It's, and it kind of goes with what's across the street, you know?
Yeah, it's very fitting to the area, so.
And this western lot up on the hill, that's just all out there by itself with 37, almost 37 and a half acres of top of the mountain. It's kind of like your own little top of the mountain over there, so.
Well, I think the first time through, didn't we look at that, that area there was sort of like, was not developable anyhow? So that one lot stays there, and I think when we talked.
Yeah, all those slopes in there were really.
Right, yeah, that part, but there was lot 11 up there. And that driveway came right in off of Tut Hill. I mean, that's quite a steep, windy road there. I mean, that's.
Oh, getting up Luzerne? Oh, yeah.
Is there a requirement for driveway turnarounds, for driveways over a certain amount of length?
I can look at that. The requirement was for shared driveways or a variance for Luzerne Road. So that's why the shared driveways are showing up. But because it's sketch plan, we will look at that to make sure that, I know there are items related to length of driveway. So I'll have to look at that again.
I'm just used to dealing with, again, outside of here in Saratoga County, is if you've got something over 500 feet, you have to turn around, you gotta have room for emergency vehicle, stuff like that.
I think if you looked, I addressed that on the longest driveway.
Or lot 2.
Yeah, it looks like you have a little
Yeah, lot
pullover.
2, if you look right in that area,
Oh, yeah, there it is.
There's
the code, the town code requires that pull off. Widening to 20 feet, I believe, for 50 feet is the requirement, but from the code.
Do they have a weight capacity?
I don't
I
know.
don't know, I'm just used to the others.
Well, I personally think with that driveway, you also need a sign, texting just ahead, okay?
Tech stop ahead.
Text area just ahead.
No, that's a good question, you know, can the driveway accommodate a fire truck?
That's the main thing.
Fire trucks are
If a
heavy.
fire truck's gotta get up there and turn around somewhere,
Yeah,
and will it take the weight of that?
yeah,
truck?
yeah.
You know, the soils or whatever.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, I'm hearing some positive feedback here, so I think we're in the right track. And I'm just wondering if anybody really has an issue with this, and, you know, if there's no real issues, we're going to move forward to preliminary.
Does anyone else have any additional feedback for the applicant? No. All right, I guess
Keep the shared driveways, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Look, you know, there's another, I'm sorry, but we've dealt with shared driveways before too, and we've had recommendations, actually come up with a study in municipalities that there is a county where shared driveways are utilized, and you get them in areas particularly where you have stretches, you know, between, you don't want to get that many consecutive curb cuts.
Yeah.
But they enter into agreements that are filed with their deeds.
Yeah.
As far as that, when you said about snow, that's part of it, and also repair. And again, I'm not looking to say, hey, you gotta have to do that now. That's not what I'm saying. But that is something that, you know, could come about at some point.
Yeah, interesting.
Or to look at it, at least to get down the road.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, also under new business, we have Michael and Mary Jane Bernholtz, site plan 43-2020. Laura?
Okay, so this applicant proposes construction of a single-family home with a garage 30 by 36, and the second floor also is 30 by 36. Second floor is a 2-bedroom. The home is noted as a carriage house. Requirement for site plan is for new floor area and a CEA.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Tom Hutchins, Hutchins Engineers. I'm here with owner applicant Michael Bernholtz. And the Bernholtz own a parcel on the non-lake side of Assembly Point Road, which they also own residents on diagonally across Assembly Point Road. And this is to serve as a guest house essentially, and also a place for storage, a garage. We believe it's laid out in a compliant manner. There's a telephone service that crosses this parcel, that a pole is being relocated by the utility at the owner's request. And there's been some in there doing some work to do that presently. And there's a new pole there, and you can see where the new pole line's going to go. Otherwise, we've laid out, again, it's a 30 by 36 two-story structure. We believe it's compliant, setbacks, FAR, permeability. It's got a new enhanced wastewater treatment system and stormwater controls. Per 147, it has been to your engineer, and we do have a rather compact comment letter that we can certainly address, and none of the items on there concern me. And with that, I think I turn it over to the board, unless Mike, you want to add anything?
Could you talk about the lighting?
Lighting, I don't know that we've planned on lighting, but we'd be good with residential shielded downcast exterior lighting.
So any lighting would be compliant?
Yeah.
There's mention about evergreen plantings. Is there any other plantings planned for this?
Well, we've shown a number of evergreen trees on the perimeter. We haven't detailed a landscaping plan at this point. We certainly can boost that up a little if you think it would be helpful. The site is pretty much clear now. So yeah, that could be improved with additional landscaping.
Okay. Questions, comments from members of the board?
Looks good.
Well, your plan does say, Tom, that you'd have a minimum of 10
Yeah.
evergreen trees, 5 to 6 feet high. Do you have some additional plantings in mind?
I'm sorry? I didn't get
Did you have additional plantings in mind?
Sir, were you planning on public comment?
No, he's
No,
the
he's the owner.
You're the owner, okay. Yeah, you can come up and speak. Just we need to get you on the mic for the record.
You want to address it?
I do plan on screening the whole entire roadway along the front of the property to get more privacy into the property and to reduce the road noise that comes onto the property. So I plan on putting a split rail fence up. I plan on putting evergreens, spacing them along the front of the property, more to enhance my pleasure of the property and also people driving by when they look, it's more scenic for the area.
And these are the 10 that are indicated.
That's what I plan on doing a lot more than 10, but just the minimum for you guys to review.
Okay, and just for the record, your name again?
My name is Michael Bernholz, B-E-R-N-H-O-L-Z.
Thank you. Any other questions, members of the board? All right, we have a draft resolution, I think.
Oh, Mr.
Public hearing.
You need your.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do have a public hearing on this application, and thank you for that reminder. And I will also remind the public that may be viewing our meeting this evening on the town website that they may call area code 518-761-8225 if they wish to comment by phone. Is there anyone in the audience that wanted to address the, yes, sir?
She's got sliver.
Sliver? Ooh, ouch. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Patrick Joint, and my wife and I own the property directly across from this property on the lakeside, 47 Assembly Point Road. Well, Mike, he's a neighbor a few doors down from us. And I haven't been through this process, so I came to hear how this works, and I just did have a couple of questions. I'm not sure this is necessarily the right forum, but if you'll indulge me.
That's what the public hearing is for, so go ahead.
Thank you. So I guess my one concern that I do have is just what kind of regrading, if any, would be done on the lot, just to make sure that there's no water runoff coming in my direction.
Okay. Stormwater management is required and has to be retained on site.
So there shouldn't be any issue.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. And then the only real other question I had is with what is now just empty land, so now a new property there, I just don't know if that has any impact on limiting what I do in terms of where I might move a septic system or have a well or anything like that, and how can I find out about that, I guess?
Well, there are requirements with regard to placement of a well and a septic. There's minimum distances required.
Okay.
And approval from the health department for a septic system, but we can ask the engineer to explain that as well.
Okay, so the engineer would be able to let me know this would or wouldn't limit my doing something on my property, or is that?
Well, if you're going to do something on your property, you have setbacks that you have to use.
I understand.
It goes to the border of the property. It have nothing to do with the building.
Yeah, I guess I just look at the septic field, and I don't know what the limitations are. I'm right on the other side of the road. If I have a septic field that's out close to the road also, is there some limitation where I now can't do that?
Yeah, well to septic would be the separation distance.
That would be the issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, not for you. You have an existing system, right? You said?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if we did something.
We can
it's all-
ask for a further explanation of that.
Okay, I think those were my questions, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to address the planning board on this application? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Chris Novitsky, Lake George Waterkeeper. We know it's a small lot, a lot going on, grading. There's some limited depth to groundwater. I don't know whether there's anything that could be done to improve a separation from the septic system to the stormwater, which is right by there. You know, there's actually a retaining wall right next to the septic system. Regarding the revegetation, I appreciate that question. We just wondered if there could be, you know, a diversity of trees provided instead of just all evergreen through that area. It's a, you know, natural, diversified forest. Maybe it could be half deciduous and half evergreen. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wanted to address the planning board on this application? We haven't gotten any phone calls thus far. Are there any written comments, Laura?
There are no.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing then and ask the applicant to return. So there was a question regarding the well separation from the property across the street.
Yeah, and we all know the magic 100 feet between a well and an absorption field. In our case, our well will be to the rear of the property.
So well in excess of the minimum.
Which would not impact any wastewater systems certainly on the other side of the road. Our septic system is shown closer to the right-of-way. We're 20 feet off the right-of-way line with the edge of our septic system and the 50-foot wide right-of-way. So that's 70 feet. There would be an area 30 feet technically into the adjoining property that would not be a good location for a water supply well. But generally, on that side particularly, that shoreline, people have septic systems out toward the road.
Right.
And that's the way it should be, and I presume that's the way it is, so.
Okay, and then there was comment also about, again, about the vegetation, and the question came up about considering a mix of deciduous trees, for example. I know there was...
I think you'd be okay with that, right?
You're gonna make it look beautiful. That's what I do, and it's gonna drive by and you're gonna say, wow, look at that place.
Okay. Well, I think the question wasn't so much about the visual impact as it was about the biodiversity.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's
Okay.
So you'd be open maybe to some input on some
what's beautiful to me.
other trees?
We can work in some deciduous, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You know how many times, we should put a number down there?
I'm sorry?
A number of deciduous, we should probably put a number.
Oh, we can work in 6 to 8 deciduous as well? Yeah.
One of the comments is that there's a high water table, and they did note on the one test pit that you hit water at 34 inches.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's relatively shallow water table. The wastewater system is elevated. As Chris mentioned, there's a built up a boulder wall around that. The wastewater system is elevated, as you see a lot of places now as you drive down that road.
Yeah.
And the stormwater controls are just slightly elevated above existing grade, and we're maintaining our separation to that groundwater table. But yeah, there's groundwater there, yeah. But we believe we've designed in a compliant manner, considering that, and we were very aware of that.
Other questions, comments? I think we have a draft resolution.
Before you begin your resolution, just to clarify, I have 10 evergreen that are proposed for the plan, and then you're adding potentially 8 deciduous trees. Are you adding additional evergreens as well? All right.
I mean, we're gonna landscape the roadside that way.
Yep, so what I want to be able to say is, here's the minimum. What you do above and beyond that is fantastic, but I want to get on the resolution something that says, here's the minimum that we're expecting there, so.
Let's go with the 6 to 8 deciduous. You're probably not gonna want 6 to 8
Okay, we'll add that.
with 8
Okay.
deciduous in addition to
10 evergreen.
That's what
You already put that down as a...
Sold.
You're all over that, yeah.
All right, do we have a draft resolution ready?
We do. Motion to approve site plan 43-2020, Michael and Mary Jane Bernhold. According to the draft resolution prepared by staff of the following. 1, waivers requested, granted. 2, the approval is valid for 1 year from the date of approval. Applicant is responsible for requesting an extension of approval before the 1-year time frame has expired if the applicant has not yet applied for a building permit or commenced significant site work. 3, adherence to the items outlined in follow-up letter sent with this resolution, including items A through K, and also L, additional plantings of 6 to 8 deciduous trees to be added.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I was just going to suggest that you confirm the applicant agreed to 8 deciduous trees.
Well, I didn't hear that, but I'll put it in there.
Thank you.
I thought it was 6.
Yes.
There was a 6 to 8, but then he recognized that Laura would not really go with 8.
Does that mean 6 to 8 means 8.
6 to 8 means 6 over
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, amended resolution, L, additional plantings of 8 deciduous trees.
All right, we have an amended motion. Do we have a second?
Yes. Second.
Any further discussion? Karen, can you get the vote count for us?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine? Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Deep?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes.
Thank
You're
you.
all set. Yep. Next on our agenda, we have Foothills Builders, Site Plan 45-2020. Laura?
Okay. So this applicant proposes to construct a new home of 2019 as a footprint. This includes a basement and an attached garage. The applicant did start clearing the lot, which was previously approved in a 1993 subdivision. And if you were to drive by there, you understand that the adjoining lot to this also has a new home under construction already. So this is finishing, and I believe it's correct, it's finishing this subdivision.
Nope, there's one more.
Oh my God, there's one more. So there's
One more lot.
All right, so
Will come next month.
there you go. So subdivision of 1993. So this is almost the last lot.
Wow. Almost, huh? Okay. Good evening.
Evening, Tom Center with Hutchins Engineering. As Laura said, this is a previously reviewed and approved by the Town of Queensbury Planning Board in 1993 subdivision, also reviewed and approved by DOH Town Highway and the Water Department in 1994. We've located the house in approximately the same location as the original subdivision, recognizing that the slopes, the 15% slope came after the fact to this lot. So we tried to manage having a small backyard and not going into that back hill too much on this lot. The other lot next to us, Lot 2, actually, if you looked at the original approved subdivision plans, the house was not within 50 feet of the 15% slope. That's why we were able to do that one versus this one. But we provided stormwater management for this. The roof is going to be piped and guttered to infiltration trenches, and then the driveway and front lawn area will be graded to shed to a shallow grass swale in the front lawn. Small septic systems, 3-bedroom house. We've stepped down the garage so that we don't have a huge rise going from the road to the garage. We've also provided a turnaround so that you're not backing out onto Round Pond Road, that you can back in and pull out so that you're not backing out onto Round Pond Road, recognizing that's a heavily trafficked road sometimes.
Just in the summer.
It's primarily in the summer, yes. So we did accommodate for that. We provided some details, an elevation plan, which Craig had asked for, just so you get a picture of how much we're cutting into that slope in the back. The retaining wall is about 5.5 foot high. We will provide, we're buying the Ready Rock, if you will, product, which are basically Jersey barriers with a fancy boulder face on them, stackable to the back, so they're going to be set with a machine. We've already been in discussions with Duke. They have an engineer to provide to answer that. One of the town engineer's questions regarding the retaining wall was designed, I said designed by others. That's their bailiwick to show that it meets all the criteria for that. The folks down at Duke, which is a local company, are very confident they can provide the town engineer. It's not a huge wall. It's not a huge height wall, but we acknowledge his question. We knew it was coming, and we planned for it. Just we wanted to make sure we had approval before we do the expense of getting that design. Everything else is it's a pretty straightforward plan, and open it up to any questions.
But Jamie had said before, this is the last lot as you head to Route 9.
It is the last lot on Round Pond Road. There is one more lot that I'm working on right now that's off High Point Drive that has a shared driveway that goes up to kind of the peak of the subdivision. But that's off High Point. It was approved with a shared driveway. That has 15% slopes on it. We just got it surveyed. We got a new survey of that parcel because I wasn't sure, could we do something without getting into the 15% slopes? I wasn't comfortable with it. So we had that lot, topography done of that lot, and we're right now in the process of locating a house on that last parcel. So that one will close out this subdivision completely.
You are?
What's that?
You are?
We're working on
Means
it.
we're gonna have another couple cars in the neighborhood?
maybe.
That's my neck of the woods, and I know there's one up in there, so.
There is one. You know, it's not bad. I want to work with him to locate the house right, so it fits with the existing driveway and that location in that house, and kind of work around the slopes that are there. But there is a fairly level spot. It's not going to require, it will require a small retaining wall or a little bit of grading on the slope, but we're not building it down the slope, we're not cutting into the slope, we're building up a little bit up there. But we're going to keep it closer to that property line and keep the woods lines in between the house. There's a little bit of work we have to do with that.
Well, when you cleared those two lots there, you know, I was like, wow, that number, the first lot there, boy, that hill. I thought it would be half house, half bomb shelter, you know what I'm saying? Because you could put it right in there and that'd be beautiful. But, and seeing the small house right next door, really, that's fitting in nice. And like I said, some people don't want big yards, you know, and it really is kind of peaceful. I'm happy to hear the turnaround, because that, coming out on the high point, especially coming off of Birdsville, that is,
Yes.
I mean, you got one bend and another bend, and you go like this, and you go like this, and then you look back, and you think you're safe, but you come back, you know what I'm saying? It's like...
And then you got to watch for bikes coming around the...
Oh, we don't worry about the bicyclists, you know, but no. But you're right, we do. You have to watch them all.
Crazy
and,
roads you gotta look out for. Yeah.
But I really, I think how you explained to do that lot, I think it's gonna work out nice. Now, is the next door also having that little access to back in and?
I think we're in this, you know, we talked about it. It wasn't, we didn't have to go through site plan or anything. That was just a septic system design. But I did mention it to the two Joes that they should consider it and work that out. They haven't paved there yet, so.
It could just be a busy road, and I'll tell you right now, when that college is on, bingo. I mean, like I said, I just know that road because I'm pulling out on it every day, so.
No, I did ask them to consider that, you know, when they get into doing the driveway and work something out.
Thank you.
Tom, you had mentioned when you were talking about the roof gutters and the
Yep.
and stuff, and I just, maybe you can help me out with this. I'm reading Sean Doty's letter.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read it and see what he's saying, because I got caught up and I didn't catch it. It's a 6-point letter.
Yep.
It says, based on the front elevation plan, it is difficult to discern how the entire roof gutter system, including the garage roof drains to the infiltrators. I don't know what he's saying.
I do know what he's saying.
I do too.
I thought I made it clear in there that we were going to take the roof gutter down into a pipe system and take that pipe system to the infiltration trench. So normally when you're trying to move stormwater around these small lots and these houses, we've done it around the lake, you basically just run a perimeter pipe. So we take that gutter, we'll come to a downspout, and then we come across the front of the house, tie it into the other corner, and pipe it into that infiltration trench. So when I split the house up, I'm trying to move water around and get it there. I don't like doing that, but it does work. I've got some questions for him, engineering-wise, on some of the things with what we're actually trying to use. Again, like we talked to last time, we're trying to use the stormwater design manual for these small lots that it's really not meant for, and we're working out some engineering determination.
And an earlier question, it says Chazen does not take exception to performing soil testing during the time of construction.
Correct, and what he's telling there is that he's saying that in every single stormwater infiltration device, I have to perform an infiltration test and a test pit. I go out and design subdivisions and do 3 or 4 test pits down where the road's going to be, where a few septic systems are going to be, and get a feel for the road. I also look at the stormwater, I also look at the soils maps to see consistency and where things change. We're splitting hairs on some of these things. These are questions I have for staff also that we're going to try to work out. But if we have to do something when they're constructing, we go out, we look at the soil, inspect it, make sure we have, I mean, I did a deep hole because I was looking for both the septic system and for the foundations to make sure we didn't have an issue. Because I know as you get over to the other side of the road, you've got some wet areas over there. So I wanted to make sure I didn't have a problem with the foundations and the basements. So I'm pretty confident. We've got deep well-drained soils. If anybody who lives on there, I did a house for Mr. Lucci on the other side. It's deep, well-drained, blow sand, you know, very good for stormwater management. I'm not concerned at all with a groundwater issue or the percolation. I've actually only used 30 inches per hour, which works out to like an 8 or 10 minute perk rate. And I think we've got 1 minute perk soil. So I've actually over-designed the infiltration capacity of these things. So I tend to err on the side of, you know.
And you don't have any problem with what, I think it's alluding to talking about is the foundations, with the soils for the foundation?
Not for the retaining wall? No. If you go just down the road, there's at least a 25, 30-foot high retaining wall for the Great Escape that's protecting a switchgear that's been there for years.
Yeah.
We're talking about a 5.5-foot high retaining wall that's made of blocks that are bigger than that are large Jersey barriers that are set interconnected and locked in. And I'll let the retaining wall guys, engineers, provide him hopefully the data he's looking for.
Or you could just go to Home Depot that's on the other side there and look at that big wall. You know?
I mean, there's walls all over town. I mean, we chose a block that's actually bigger than normal. You know, you could use the smaller blocks, stackable, but that's a lot of man hours. These are a little bit more expensive. You got to get a little bit bigger equipment, but you're putting it up in a day. You know, across the back here. And it's an expense. The Lucci's are trying to close out the subdivision, and they've got an interested buyer for this house who understands everything that's going on there, and it doesn't mind the small house and the small backyard.
There's a comment also in the staff notes about the clearing limit. Can you add that to the plan?
The clearing limit is on there.
Oh, really?
Or you know what, I think I added disturbance, limit of disturbance and clearing.
Yeah.
Isn't that? Yeah. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's marked.
It's there. I should, somewhere in here I have the laser pointer.
Yeah, right there.
I have it called out, limits of disturbance and clearing, and that would be that line going across. You know, right there. Plus I showed the area of 15% slopes that were going to be disturbed.
We do have a public hearing on this application as well. I want to let folks know that are watching this on the YouTube channel that if they wish to comment by phone, they may call area code 518-761-8225. And since we have no audience at this point, we don't need to worry about that. Are there any written comments, Laura?
There is one written comment. This is addressed to whom it may concern. Our names are Charles and Lisa Kane, the owners for the residence located at 68 Round Pond Road, Queensbury, New York. Our property is directly across from the above property put on your agenda to be heard before the planning board on Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. The property is 71 Round Pond Road, Queensbury, New York. This is to express our concerns and is in reference to the letter for which we received dated October 8th. This letter was informing us that the property located at 71 Round Pond Road would be coming before the planning board of review to be determined if the applicant was proposing to construct a 2019 square foot home, including a basement and attached garage. It has been acknowledged pursuant to Chapter 179-6-060 that construction within 50 feet of 15% slopes is subject to planning board review. Excuse me. By writing this letter, I would appreciate if the planning board would take into consideration our concerns. They are as follows. They're bulleted, but I'm going to number them. 1, this newly proposed home would be directly located across from our home, giving no privacy to our dwelling. 2, this home would be able to see directly into our home day and night. 3, lights would be peering into our windows. 4, more noise and traffic. 5, this house would be set close to the road. 6, dangerous for children who may reside within this dwelling as it would be located close to a busy roadway. 7, we are also concerned by the high sloping area that they're proposing to build this oversized dwelling upon. Because of clearing of the sloping land, it is possible that land erosion could occur, causing flooding, which in turn could run across the roadway and to our property, causing damage to our land and dwelling as well. 8, well, we believe this building lot is too confined to construct such a large home of 2,019 square feet with an attached garage, putting our community as risk for the safety of all of its residents and traffic users. We greatly appreciate the board taking into consideration our thoughts and concerns. Cordially, Charles Kane and Lisa Kane.
Thank you, Laura. So let's see. Most of the issues I think have been addressed. Can you comment on lighting? Is there going to be anything other than residential typical?
Nothing other than residential lighting that's required for the building code for, I believe, the porch area and maybe out on the outside of the garage. Other than that would be, typical downcast lighting. There's nothing else proposed there.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments from members of the board? I guess we have a draft resolution.
I believe you need to close your public hearing.
Oh, yes, thank you. We did not receive any phone calls, so we will close the public hearing and consider a draft resolution.
Motion to approve site plan 45-2020 Foothills Builders according to the draft resolution prepared by staff as follows. 1, waivers requested, granted. 2, the approval is valid for 1 year from the date of approval. Applicant is responsible for requesting an extension of approval before the 1-year time frame has expired if the applicant has not yet applied for a building permit or commenced significant site work. 3, adherence to the items outlined in the follow-up letter sent with this resolution, including items A through K.
We have a resolution. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Karen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Mr. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Ms. White? Yes. Mr. Deep?
Yes.
Mr. Hunzinger?
Yes.
Mr. Traver?
Yes. You're all set.
Thank you.
Do you want any of these plans, Tom?
No.
Didn't think so,
thank
but I
you.
thought I'd ask.
What's that?
I didn't think so, but I thought I'd ask.
No, I gotta
Make some changes.
corrections for the town engineer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there any other business before the board tonight? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Laura.